Good morning, everybody. I am actually filming this Arise late afternoon. Today we've been really busy and packing and getting ready to move, and we had Lincoln's swim lessons. He finished up his swim lessons today, so I've kind of got my swim hair and all that stuff. He did great. It's a little hard for me to watch sometimes, especially, because she's teaching him how to float and just thinking of memories and things like that. So I do the swim lessons because it's something that Granger can't do, and that's okay. Taking over for him in that area, and just making sure that our babies are good to go in the water. And I wish I wouldn't have waited so long with Lincoln. I mean, I didn't wait a long time with Lincoln. I just wish I would have known sooner about the ISR, the infant swim survival, or the swim survival classes where they teach the babies to float. I wish I would have known that, because you can start that at 8 months or a year old, and we didn't know. You think you start your babies in swim lessons at 3 years old and they're good. So Lincoln's just turned 6, but he's been in lessons for a couple years, just for reintroducing himself to the water and getting him used to swimming and things like that. So we did that today. That was the start of my day. And I thought today I would come to you guys. I've been kind of talking to you guys about heavy topics, and I've been sad and I've been crying, and I was gonna try to come to you with a little bit more upbeat talk today. I thought we could talk about relationships and marriage. So that's what we're gonna do today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Arise. Thank you for all of your sweet comments on the last videos. I try to read all of them. I appreciate you being here on this walk with me, and I hope that I can bring you something today. So, today I thought we would talk about relationships. Oh, hey, Goose. That's my cat. I am no expert by any means on relationships. Granger and I have been married for 10 years, together for 11, and in some people's eyes, that's still the honeymoon phase, and in other people's eyes, 10 years seems like forever. We've answered a lot of these questions before about how we met and our love story, and those are in old episodes on answering your questions. We've talked about those on his podcast on the Granger channel. So if you have any of those questions about how we met or our love story, you can go back and watch those old videos. I will just go right into questions, I guess, that you guys have for me, and I'm just gonna tell you how I feel and how my heart feels, and take what you will. Like I said, I am not an expert on relationships or marriage. Let's see, where do we want to start with? I already answered how long we've been married, 10 years. What are your love languages? So our love languages have changed now that, we've been married 10 years and we have children together. When we first got together, it was physical touch. Currently, we redid this test in therapy, and his love language is quality time and mine is acts of service, which seems, I would have never thought that was my love language, like, oh, I want people to do things for me. But when you're a busy mom and your husband's gone all the time and you are home with the babies all the time, I so appreciate when he does little things for me, whether that's start the car when it's cold outside or take out the trash. Sorry, my cat is giving himself a bath right behind me. Goose, can you go do that somewhere else? Go. So I appreciate when he does little things for me like that. Takes out the trash, takes the initiative and goes and gives the kids a bath, if I've had a long day, or does the dishes for me. Not saying he never does that, but I just appreciate those things, and I make sure to let him know that I appreciate those little things. Guys, if your girlfriend or wife's love language is acts of service, do those small things for her. If her love language is gifts, buy her a little something every now and then. Doesn't mean you have to go out and buy expensive jewelry. Quality time is big with Granger, and another one of your questions that y'all asked me was, how do you guys make time for each other when he's on the road all the time and you're so busy with kids? We haven't been the best at doing that. Thankfully, right now with everything going on in the world, we've had to have quality time together because we were forced to be home, and he very much works really hard. And so he is usually working all the time. And especially now with this going on, I've been working all the time trying to bringing in income for our family. So we have to actively make time for each other, which that was one of the things in therapy that he said he wishes that I would do more. So I've been trying to listen to him in that way, whether that's if we're super busy during the day, at least when we go to bed at night, we give each other an hour, 30 minutes to lay there, to talk, to watch a show together, just to be together. We don't get a lot of date nights. I do have a really good sitter, one of my best friends, and she comes and hangs with the kids, but we actually went out for a date last night, and I don't remember the last time that we went out for a date. We went and had sushi. So we don't get a lot of the date time. Usually we have to go away together to get quiet time or special time, because it's, as you know, if you're a mom or a dad, you don't get that time. Your kids need you all the time. Or if you're trying to talk, your kids are interrupting you, pulling on your leg, they need something all the time. So you have to actively make that an effort. Actively try to do that with your spouse. Find time to take the kids to the grandparents and go have a date night. Find a sitter, find a friend to watch them for a little bit, and just spend time together. And if you can't do that, if finances or any of that kind of stuff, you can't do that, at least when you put the kids to bed, devote 30 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you can give to each other to reconnect and build your relationship and talk about your day and just check in and see how each other's hearts are doing. We always say, how's your heart today? And just check in. So I hope that answered that question. Do you believe in the perfect relationship? No. No relationship is perfect because no human is perfect. We are all imperfect individuals and we are all sinners, and we all have things that we can work on, within ourselves. I don't think anybody's perfect, and I don't think if you're seeking a perfect relationship with no problems and no issues, you're not going to find that. It's not a fairy tale, it's not a movie, and it's an unattainable goal. There's nothing that's going to be perfect. You're always going to have your ups and downs and face storms, and you're always going to do things that annoy each other, probably. So no perfect relationship. This is one, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place with these questions. This kind of goes back, well, I guess it could be marriage too. Somebody said, what are your thoughts on privacy boundaries with each other's phones? My personal opinion is if you have to ask that, or if you're worried about your spouse or your partner seeing things in your phone, or worried about them having access, then there's something maybe wrong there. Granger and I have each other's passwords, we always have. And I've never tried to hide my phone from him, or there's nothing, we haven't done anything to give each other any reason not to trust the other one. Now, do I actively go search through his phone? No. I trust him. I don't need to do that. And if you're feeling the need to go through your partner's phone, you might need to kind of recheck that and see what's going on, what's causing you to feel that way in your heart, because you guys should just trust each other. And you're not their parent. You don't need to be going through their phone. Yeah, I think that could cause some issues. He could go through my phone anytime he wants, but if he was like, give me your phone, I want to check it, that's a little weird. Do you think marriage can survive after infidelity? You know what? I can't say I would know how I would feel in that situation because that hasn't happened to me, but I can say that I have seen and heard and been a part of friends' testimonies who they had some issues in their marriage and they took it to God and they went to counseling and they truly love each other, and people make mistakes and they worked it out and they're good, and I've seen stories in our church where that has happened. I think that people are not perfect and people are going to make mistakes, and I think it depends on how you feel in your heart, if you can forgive them, because I think it's not the act itself that causes the damage. It's the after effects. It's the not being able to forgive them. It's the holding the resentment. It's the anger and the mistrust. So I think if you guys can work together and you guys decide, look, somebody messed up, we're going to fix our relationship, we're going to look within ourselves, we're going to see why this happened, and we're going to fix it, and we're going to work together, and we're going to move forward in our marriage and our love for each other, we're going to fight for each other, then yes, I think you can make it, of course. But if you do that, you have to truly let it go. Like, you can't hold resentment for them and bring it up all the time, or bring it up when there's a fight, because then it's just a ripple, and it's just gonna it'll be good for a little bit, and then it'll be bad. I think it'll just dissolve. So yeah, I think you can survive. I have friends that are doing great. I know people, like I said, in the church that are great. I think you can survive. So it's your personal choice in your relationship, and if you want to fight for that, and yeah, so that's my answer. What do you think is the key to a solid, lasting relationship? A solid, lasting relationship. So Granger and I were older when we met, and we just knew what we wanted by then. I think for me personally, I didn't even know who I was as a woman, or what I wanted, or what I thought I deserved, or what I felt that I could give to another person, until I was in my mid-20s to late 20s. Like right around the time I met Granger, I always say that was the time, like, I know what I want, I know what I can give, I know what I'll put up with, I know who I am. So I think waiting to at least find out who you are. You change so much between 20 to 25 to 30. You're just a different person. And if you do get married when you're young, there's nothing wrong with that, but just know that you're going to change as people. And if you guys are on the same path, and you're going to work together, and know that your end goal is going to be the same, and you're going to work through any issues, then that's awesome. But for me, I felt like waiting till I was older to get married was the first big step. 2, I think the key to a lasting relationship is to have God in your relationship. Put God first, even above your spouse and above your children. I think never give your partner a reason to not trust you, ever. You know, when you guys take that vow before God, I just don't think that there should be any reason for you not to trust your partner. I think you guys should just know that that's just something you don't do, is give your partner a reason not to trust you. And that's something that I've been lucky enough. Granger's never given me a reason not to trust him. People always ask if it's hard being married to a musician. And for a lot of people, it may be. But he is just all the Smith brothers are just good guys. Never give, I just never have to worry about anything happening on the road or anything like that. So trusting your partner, communication, which I'm still working on. I feel like we're good about communicating with each other, but as a woman, I feel like I hold things in a lot, and I just expect him to read my mind, and he can't do that. And he's told me, you got to just tell me. Like, guys don't know what girls need. You have to just tell me. If you're frustrated about something, you need to tell me, and I'll fix it. Like if I'm frustrated because the house is messy and I'm just stomping around like rage cleaning. I don't know if you moms know about rage cleaning. I could be rage cleaning, or I could just simply say, hey, babe, could you help me with this? Could you take out the trash? Could you do something? I'm still working on that because I still kind of hold things in and get frustrated. So communication, having fun together, like I said, making time together, choosing to put each other's needs before your own, I think is a good key to a lasting relationship. All those keys. What is your opinion on divorce? So I come from lots of divorce in my family. My parents divorced when I was 4. My mom remarried. She's still with my stepdad. My dad got remarried a couple times. So I've been through divorce a lot of times. Obviously, like, I'm not a fan. I don't think that's the best thing that can happen. I don't think it's good for the kids, but I also know life is not black and white. Like, there are things that happen. People change sometimes when people get married, and who you thought you were marrying is not who they end up being. Or, I'm a firm believer that if you are being abused in any way, you don't have to stay married. So I think it's not white or black. It's not cut and dry for me. I think there are a lot of things that can cause divorce, and I think that's another reason why I wanted to wait so long to get married, is I didn't want a divorce. I didn't want my kids to go through the back and the forth of the parents and trying to please one over the other, and the fighting and holding the kids, against each other. I just didn't want my kids to have to go through that. So I wanted to wait. But I'm not one to judge. I mean, I don't want to judge you if you have been through a divorce, and God has a plan for you and your partner, or your partner that you're getting a divorce from. So just trust in that plan. But I do think people take marriage very lightly now. I feel like people just think, well, we'll get married. If it doesn't work out, we'll just get divorced. And I think that's not a good thing. I just don't think people value marriage as much anymore. They don't work as hard anymore to fix things. So yeah, that's how I feel. Do you ever argue? Honestly, it's a little bit embarrassing to say, but we don't. We just don't ever argue. Like, sometimes we'll get frustrated, and I can tell when he's a little heated, and he can tell when I'm a little heated, but we've never had a fight where we yell at each other or call each other names, or we've just never done that. And maybe part of that is just me reading him and him reading me, and stepping back before it gets to a certain point. Like, yeah, of course I get frustrated. You know, we get frustrated with each other, and I can tell when, like I said, when he's kind of getting up there, and he can tell the same thing about me. But no, we don't argue. So we just don't. I don't know. We just don't. And I'm grateful for that. And like I said, we've only been married 10 years, so I'm sure those arguments are going to come. I mean, our kids are young. We still haven't hit the teenage years yet. People ask about our parenting how do you work through parenting differences? So those are things that I know that people argue about and have discussion, heated fellowship. We do parent a little differently. Especially I'm a little harder on London and he's harder on Lincoln. I think that's just the same sex parent thing. He pushes the kids a lot harder than I do, but I need that, and I need to trust him in that, and take a step back and yield to him, because he knows what he's doing, and I have to trust him. And sometimes I'm a little too easy on the kids, and I don't push them hard enough when they can do something. So trusting your partner, talking through parenting differences. One thing is don't ever talk about that stuff in front of your kids. Like if you guys are disagreeing about something, try not to discuss that in front of the kids. Take that away from the kids, because then those kids have ammo to use against you. You know, well, mom said this or dad said this, or they need to see you guys on a unified front, not going against each other. So if you guys don't agree on something, just say, we'll talk about it later. Discuss that later away from the kids. How do you keep intimacy during grief? I'm struggling. That's hard. It's hard when you go through something like we went through, and we're still going through, I think he's driving up, to turn that back on again. You know, your mind is in such a bad place, but I think it's important to still be intimate with your partner, and to come together and grow together in closeness. And this is probably too personal. It did take us a little bit to be intimate, because we were grieving and we were sad, and I think he thought he didn't want to push it. He didn't want to push me. But I remember telling him, you know, we're still a family, and I love you, and I'm, you know, yes, we're sad, but we're still married, and we love each other, and we're gonna get through this, and it's gonna be okay. And I'm gonna be real honest, like sometimes I still cry after being intimate, just because your emotions are so high, of feeling of loss and sadness, and your endorphins are going as well, and it's very emotional. And I've cried myself to sleep sometimes, and just allow yourself to feel how you feel, but try to still find that intimacy and love and compassion with each other, because I think that's important to stay close in your marriage and through your grief. Yeah, hope that answered. I know it's hard. I know it's a struggle, so I get it. And also don't push yourself. If you're not ready for that, just wait a little bit. And hopefully your partner understands that. The biggest question I got was, how has losing Riv affected your marriage, and do you blame each other? Thankfully, our marriage is strong, and I feel like we've even become stronger through our loss. We made a choice, you know, we made a vow, we made a choice, a promise to each other when we got married, for better or for worse, you know, and this is worst. And we made a choice to fight for our family, fight for our kiddos, live for Riv, live for each other, and do the best that we can moving forward and carrying this and walking this road that we don't know how it's going to end up. We don't know what the next turn is going to be, but we made a choice to stay together, to work together, and to fight through anything, and to be strong for each other and our family. So thankfully our marriage has grown. You know, we've grown in our faith. Goose is still giving himself back, so cover that up. We've grown in our faith together. We pray, you know, together now. We've always used to pray, but praying is very intimate. And somebody else asked me that question too. How do you pray with your partner? Praying is very intimate, but you know, we pray together. We pray for each other. So yeah, I feel like in a crazy way, it has brought us closer together. It has brought us closer together emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, to talk about hard things, to trust each other more. And about the blame, I don't think he blames me. He says he doesn't blame me for anything, and I don't blame him for anything. That was one of the things that right after it happened, I had some friends say, how do you not have feelings of anger or blame? And that night, when I ran out and saw him doing CPR on Riv, it was like there was no question of where were you or why weren't you watching, or it was none of that. It was, we're both fighting for our child right now. This is us. This is our family. I just never, honest to God, never felt blame towards him at all. And I'm grateful for that. I'm glad I didn't have that feeling in my heart, because I know that would be a hard thing to fight through and overcome if you're upset with your partner. But this was both of our son, and we both were going through the worst thing ever. Like, how can I blame him? I hate that he blames himself. And I still blame myself for things that night that I wish I would have changed. But that blame is not going to do anybody any good. It's not going to bring River back. So trying to find the good and focusing on our love for each other and focusing on our kiddos and living for Riv and just trying to do the next thing has just helped me in that way, I guess. So no, I don't have any blame for him, and I hope he doesn't have any blame for me. Yeah. I think that's all the questions for now. I want to get to the devotional about, I have a couple of them right now, about for better or worse. So this one is from Great is Thy Faithfulness, from Our Daily Bread. And it goes, for better or worse. Read Ephesians 5:22-30-33. Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ also loved the church. Within a chip shot of our house is a golf course. When I stand in my backyard, I see pawns waiting hungrily for my next errant shot. At times, I can imagine sand traps and trees joking about my bad days. I mention the sport with mixed feelings. I like to golf occasionally, but living so close to the course reminds me of my failures in playing the game, which has its disadvantages. A similar problem can occur in marriage. Sometimes a husband and wife can lose sight of the hopes and dreams they once shared. Then the very presence of the other becomes a source of irritation, a reminder of past failures and disappointments. When the Apostle Paul wrote his letter to the Ephesians, he asked husbands and wives to turn their thoughts to their relationship with the Son of God. In him we find undying love and forgiveness for our failures. In him we find someone who loves to forget the worst and bring out the best. He reminds us not of what we've lost, but what we have yet to find. Forgive us, Father, for focusing on our flaws and failures rather than on the love of your Son, Jesus Christ. Help us to rediscover our spouse in the light of our Lord's great love for us. Reflecting on marriage. As a couple, recall the hopes and dreams you had when you were first married. Name some that have come true. Share it with each other and your hopes for the future. Marriages may be made in heaven, but they have to be worked out on earth. A long time ago, I used to think, when you get married, you hear the word obey. The word obey just sounds like you have to do whatever your partner says. And I've so learned through marriage that it's not about obeying, it's more about yielding and supporting. And I'll read something else about yielding in marriage in a second. And submitting. It's not like submitting yourself to everything that they want. It's having a servant's heart. Sorry, my paper's blew away. It's having a servant's heart. It's putting their needs before your own. It's forgiving them for their flaws. It's rediscovering yourself and remembering why you fell in love in the first place. You can get married and you have kids and you just forget those things. And then if they do something that annoys you, it's like that's all you talk about is what you're so annoyed with them about. Well, how about try to find time to reconnect and remember why you fell in love and work on that. Work on your connection, work on your relationship, and fight for each other. Go to bat for each other, work together, kiss each other, hug each other, support each other, leave each other little sweet notes. You have to work at love and marriages and stuff, because it can get, mundane, that every day. It can be like Groundhog Day some days. Try to find little things that you can do to make it exciting, and just remember why you fell in love, why you said I do that day. Forgive them if they've done some things that frustrate you. If there are things in your marriage that are causing severe issues, try to go to counseling if you want to work it out. Don't just live as angry roommates under the same house. That's not fun. So I wanted to read another devotion, and this was, actually there's a couple of them in here. Hold on. Okay, I'm sorry, I hope this is not getting too long for y'all, but it's just, I think it's so important about love and marriage and stuff. So I actually have a couple of these, and this is actually a super, all right, they let the dogs out. Okay. All right, so this is a great devotion. Doggies. No, we're back. Sorry. Kiddos and dogs and cats giving themselves baths. So this is the Better Mom Devotional by Ruth Schwenk. I love this one, shaping our heart as we shape our homes. And this kind of goes with what I said about yielding and love. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. In the past, whenever I thought of the word submit, I had a vision of an army waving a white flag in defeat. Submission was never a positive word to me. It was a sign of defeat. But nothing could be further from the truth. To submit means to yield. Recently, we were driving to the store and someone coming into our lane decided to ignore the yield sign. The result was almost disastrous. Yield signs are necessary for preventing countless accidents and collisions. In marriage, submitting is about learning to yield in love to your spouse. Failing to yield in love to each other can be as dangerous as two cars fighting over the right of way. In fact, many marital conflicts are birthed out of a desire to be right or get our way. Submission, however, requires learning to be a servant lover of our spouses. Jesus is the ultimate example of one who submitted his life to the Father. In love, Jesus yielded his desires and will to the Father's in order to bring us life through his death and resurrection. In marriage, we are to follow in Jesus' footsteps, yielding to each other out of love. Today, follow Jesus' footsteps, be willing to serve, resist the temptation to always have to be right or in control. Ask God to give you the power to live like Jesus in your marriage. Ask that he might give you a servant's heart, a heart that is growing in love. So I feel like there's so many times when we could yield to our partner. We can just trust them. We don't always have to be right in a conversation. It's okay to swallow your pride sometimes and step back and just discuss things in a healthy, non-combative way. And don't always be so eager to get upset over something or think that they're doing something on purpose to frustrate you. Just yield to your partner. Try to have a servant's heart. Try to live like Christ in that way. Forgive them for things. Forgive yourself for certain things. I had a couple more. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but the Bible says we are to be devoted to one another in love. We are to be prone to affection for, committed to, and holding fast to our spouses. And not only that, but we are to honor one another, putting our spouses before ourselves. Sadly, we don't always cherish each other like we should. We need to be gentle with our words, elevating, not degrading, seeking to protect our intimacy, showing grace, and always fighting for and not against each other. We are to handle our spouses with care, treating our husbands as the gifts from God and the treasures they actually are. Honoring each other means using our differences not to compete with one another, but to complement one another. I'm going to go back and say, and treating our wives as the gifts that they are as well. How are you honoring your husband or your wife? Do you cherish them with your words or your attitudes? Ask God to give you and your husband a heart to honor your God and each other in your marriage. Ask for an increasing desire to do what is best for the other. Stick together, be devoted, honor and cherish each other. Don't speak negatively about your spouse around your friends or around your children. Honor your marriage. And I can tell you that if there are cracks, that is when Satan will attack. Satan will, if you're allowing big things to come in between your marriage and your life, that is Satan finding ways to attack. And he wants to drive a wedge in between you and your spouse. So put on the armor of God, fight for each other, love each other, support each other, and just remember why you fell in love. Remember why you chose to say I do and walk down that aisle, and try to find that again. If you feel like you've lost that, try to search for that. Try to have grace for your partner. Pick your battles. If there are little things that are getting on your nerves, try to communicate with them first before it turns into a big blow up. Pick your battles. If they're leaving their socks on the floor, is that really a big battle, or can we just pick them up? I think there are just so much more important things in life than those little trivial things like that can cause people to really fight in a marriage. And I think that is maybe one reason why Granger and I don't fight, is because I pick my battles. I don't get frustrated or upset about things like that. Try to do the same. Have grace for them, support them, love them, and pick your battles, because there are much bigger problems in the world than socks on the floor or an unmade bed or somebody not taking out the trash. As I said, we're only 10 years in. It's not that long. It's kind of on a blip on the radar in a lot of people's minds. So I guess that is it. Like I said, this book is the Better Mom Devotional. The other one is Great is Thy Faithfulness. I will link those books in the description below. You know, God created us for two to become one, you know, in the eyes of the Father. And I don't feel that marriage is 50-50. I feel like it's 100-100. And I feel like when you feel like your partner is kind of here, you need to help bring that side of it up. Fight for each other. Remember why you love each other. I did get some questions about people still being single and how do you find the right one. Just be patient. God has a plan for you. I know it's hard right now with all the stuff going on. You can't even really go out and meet anybody. Pray about it. Pray about it. Pray about, you know, your future partner. I mean, I'm praying for my children's partners and their little kids. They're kids right now. Like I pray for whoever their future spouse is going to be. I'm praying for their hearts right now. I think that's so important. My mother-in-law said she prayed for me ever since Granger was a little boy. And I think that's so important to pray for them, lift them up, because you don't know what they're going through right now. You don't know what their family life is like. Pray for their little hearts, pray for them to know God, and pray for them to be okay and to grow up feeling loved and secure and finding God. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope today was a little bit more of a upbeat, uplifting episode. Let me know if you have any more questions. My brother-in-law, his question was, what is marriage and what is a relationship? Because he's hilarious. Still looking for a yee sister. If anybody would like to submit, I have two very handsome single brother-in-laws. Our new apparel line comes out June 12th. This hat won't be out until the fall, but I do have a pretty floral hat coming out. riverkellyfund.org if you guys would like to make any donation. We're still deciding where we're gonna donate the money for his birthday that people donated. Thank you so much. This might be the last time that I'm recording here at this house. We move in the next 10 days, so I think the next time I see you or the next time I film The Arise will be in a new location. This week, in about, let's see what's today. In about 5 days is the night that we lost River, coming up on June 4th. So that's kind of midweek. So I won't see you guys again until after that. Kind of preparing just for that day. Sorry, I was upbeat and I don't want to bring it down now, but that is going to be a little bit of a hard day for us. A good day because that's the day that he went home and met Jesus, but also a really hard day because that's the day that he left us. Pray for my heart, pray for my mama heart, pray for my family, pray for my kiddos, and I'm praying for each of you every time that you message me. Thank you for sharing Arise with Amber on your socials and joining me, drinking your coffee in the mornings with me. I appreciate you. God loves you. You are chosen. God has a plan for your life. Stay strong, keep fighting, keep taking the next breath, and try to yield in love. Have a great week.